Hello and welcome to another episode and another interview. Here with me today we have Hanny Allston. Hanny, for everyone who knows her, is an incredible athlete, just been inducted into the Orienteering Hall of Fame in Australia. She is, of course, the only person to win junior and senior world championship titles together in the same year. She's got a new book out at the moment, Finding Her Feet. An incredible memoir, of course, and yeah, Hanny, probably you are one of the most, or the best, oriented to ever come out of Australia. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing right now.
Yeah, hi, thanks. It's great to be here. I think that's a pretty big statement because I've looked up to so many of the athletes out of Australia over the years. And, but definitely to be a part of that crowd is phenomenal. What am I doing now? As many people knew, Scotland was my last year at the World Titles. I came back into the sport for a 3-year period because I had a curiosity of whether I could get back to the top of the sport, but in my mindset in a healthier way. 2006 was like a huge turning point for me, but it also came at a time when there was a lot of really tough stuff going on in my life. And I'm not proud to say, but I didn't really deal with it very well at the time. And so, yeah, I came back into the sport and really wanted to make sure that A, it wasn't a dream, because that's what it felt like. And B, yeah, that I could come back and be really proud of who I was at the base of any achievements that I went on to achieve. So when I left that in 2015 was my last year at World Titles. I wanted to return to the small business that I'd started here in Australia called Find Your Feet, which has really been about giving back as much as I can into the sports that have given a lot to me. So I really strive hard in using coaching and life coaching, also retail and outdoor retail, and we have a trail running tourism business that's more about like wellness retreats combined with trail running, taking athletes of an adult age all over the world to run on amazing trails. So this year we were meant to be heading to Bulgaria, the French Pyrenees, the French Alps, and Japan on trips. But obviously with the changes around, we're unable to do that. But so I guess it's really hard to say, like, what do I do? I guess I help people to find their feet, full stop.
That's really cool. I mean, it's obviously you've got such a great amount of experience just from a very young age, and you were kind of thrown into the sporting lifestyle in a very, I don't know, it was perhaps all encompassing for you as a junior. Obviously incredibly talented, very young. Tell us a little bit how you just got into orienteering in the first instance, and how you found your potential, and then you were able to realize your potential, and that sort of thing. Like, how did that all play out in the beginning?
Great question. I mean, I started when I was about 10 and started because we were sort of introduced to it on a very kind of basic level at school. I mean, it was at a time when my brother was leaving school to be homeschooled for a period of time after, to be honest, being bullied at school. And it was sort of seen as part of like a way to include him in, people of a similar ilk and get him out socializing and doing what he loved doing, which was being outside, having grown up on a farm. And so I was kind of like taken along to participate as well. And I hated it. I hated it probably for the next 5 years. At that time, I was a very elite swimmer and racing at the senior national level in swimming, of all things, as a 50-meter drop dead sprint freestyler. The swimming environment was incredibly challenging though, and I write about it quite openly in my book, but many of the women and girls that I was swimming with at that time went on to develop severe eating disorders, and something that I also talk about in the book is it's a trap that I also fell into, and I think it was a seed that probably began in the swimming environment. And then one year, my national swimming championships didn't clash with the national orienteering championships in Australia, and my parents were the managers of our state team. So I was taken along to participate, and just being super fit from that swimming environment. We did a lot of running for training. I performed exceptionally well and made my first national team in orienteering to go to New Zealand. And I'd never been outside of Australia, and to suddenly get on a plane without your parents and heading off, as everyone knows in the sport of orienteering, to the most eclectic environment and super casual, super carefree, it was so eye-opening for me. And I think just because I was so happy, probably for the first time ever in my sporting life, I performed very, very well. And then that kind of set the ball in motion of, would you try for the, JWOC Junior World Championships? And I remember that conversation really clearly, because I was sort of like, oh, where is it? I thought it would be like Dubbo or Sydney or, and it was Estonia. And I just nodded my head and smiled, but I had no idea where Estonia was. Came home, got out the atlas, and it just started that dream of like, I'd always dreamt about being a world champion, a champion athlete. I always wanted to do the Olympics, but I always saw it as a swimmer. And I just came home and literally walked into the swimming pool and quit, and threw myself into orienteering because I just loved it. I fell in love with it. It was, instant from that moment onwards.
Yeah, so much of what you say resonates with me as well, is that just the community and the travel and being thrown together as a team and with the other athletes in kind of random places around the world, small corners of Estonia, as you say, become championship and what dreams are made of. So incredible, really, in that respect. It's so great to hear you talk about the kind of the environment in swimming and then the environment in orienteering. And of course, swimming taught you a lot about being an athlete and being physically training yourself, but there's so much importance in the mental side and being happy, like you say, and being happy. If you're happy, you can perform. And it's really cool to hear that orienteering gave you that.
It really did.
I
think the thing that I've come to really understand, and I guess it's what absolutely drives me now in helping other people though, is that I didn't appreciate at the time the importance of really knowing yourself. Like knowing who Hanny was when she wasn't an athlete, when she wasn't even like a student of medicine, when she wasn't a daughter. Who was Hanny at the core of all of that? And that wasn't actually something that I think I'd really stopped and thought about. So because I didn't really have that really strong sense of self, I was quite influenced by what people thought around me. So when people said you could be an amazing swimmer, I was like, yeah, maybe I could. And I threw myself into that. And then it was like, oh, you could be an amazing orienteer. And so I threw myself into that. And I did love it. I absolutely, and I think of all of the sports I've done, orienteering and trail running have been the things that have really connected with me as a human being. But because I didn't really understand that, who Hanny was, and especially then when the world got so complex around my parents' illness and parental divorce and dropping out of med school and all of those really huge challenges that came after that, it meant that when someone tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey girl, you can run, like, have you ever thought about the marathon and trying out for the Olympics? It was just like, yeah, maybe that's where I belong. And because of that, I got pushed around a lot. And I think, I have no regrets in life, because every turning point is an opportunity for growth. But I think if I could have a regret, it probably would have been not probably really grabbing the opportunities that I had in the sport of orienteering, and letting myself get swayed out into the athletics world, because that world was, and in Australia, it has been notoriously unhealthy. And like thinner was better and leaner was better, and it was a bit of a slippery slope when you didn't have that strong sense of self. So everything I do now, I talk about like be wild, play wild, perform wild, and it basically means know who you are at the core of your being, learn what you love and don't let go of it, and don't apologize for loving it. And then I think you can master the art of performance. So when I was on the right side of that equation, I was performing exceptionally well, and leading up to 2006, spot on. After that, that was hard.
Yeah, incredible. As you talk, yeah, a lot of it is, of course, very relevant to many people, I'm sure. And the fact that, you know, you need to have a good sense of self, like knowing and self-worth, and like understand, okay, how do I perform, and how, what is best for me, what is the training that works for me, what is the environment that works best for me, like how can I do that? And yeah, I mean, athletics and all the rest of it, it's always in the news, and there's a lot of high pressure, there's a lot of money and funding and financing. And I wonder if, like, you know, orienteering, if orienteering was more like athletics, there would we be in a happier place? I don't know. But anyway, let's go on and talk about the future, Hanny, for you. Now you're a trail runner, you're a motivational speaker, you do coaching and all sorts of things. Tell us a little bit about what you've got planned over the coming year, how you're changing your plans this year, and looking into the future as well. What do you see yourself doing?
Yeah, it's a great question. Probably until COVID-19, I think, just as a result of being on the road so much, and having some absolutely phenomenal experiences like last year. My partner and I took 3 weeks off, and very spontaneously, I decided that I wanted to run the entire length of the French Pyrenees, but I had a deadline to get on the plane back to Australia. And so, you know, I spent 19 days on the trail running 900 kilometers down the French Pyrenees. And that really opened up my eyes to a whole nother world that I probably knew that I wanted to try and fall in love with, but had never given myself the permission to do so. And I found that wilder side to myself again. But it made me quite restless. And I'd always been thinking that we were outgrowing Tasmania again. Tasmania is probably like any island, but it's quite a small space. And so I'd been thinking about, you know, maybe coming back over to Europe potentially to do some master's level studies in tourism and change management, which I'm really interested in. But this COVID experience has just made me really fall in love with Find Your Feet all over again. Like really brought to life what your values are. You know, it's really brought to life my purpose in life, which was about trying to bring hope to people through adversity, trying to show adults that we are entitled to joy and playfulness and taking time out for ourselves. And if you love running. And so, yeah, I think I now really just want to see where this journey takes me from what I'm already doing, and not think that I need to look outside of that box at the moment. I've just got my book out, as you mentioned, Finding My Feet, My Story. I wanted to write to be vulnerable, and to really show and highlight to especially younger athletes that performance isn't a straight line, and that you can overcome adversity and still become a champion in whatever it is that you're trying to strive in. And I don't really feel like that's the last book. So I actually just got a publishing contract for that and my trail running guidebook, which I wrote 2 years ago. And they've asked me for my 3rd book already, which I already know what I want it to be about. And the title is Ultra Wild. And I think what I really want to encourage people to do, and even for the orienteers that maybe still are performing but know that there's something else they want to be doing, is like to encourage people to look outside of the competitive space, because it's so for some people, but it's so not for others. I really want to encourage people to hatch their own wild dreams, and really pursue what they're meant to be doing. Because I think when you get that equation right, you filled with so much energy. So for me, like, I don't exactly know how, but I know that that's where my purpose lies. And in the same time, I also do a lot of work now in the natural resources and natural preservation sector. So sit on a number of boards and advise on tourism and recreation in wild spaces, and something I feel really passionate about. So I'm going to continue to pursue those sort of board opportunities, and try and make the place that I live even better.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, just hearing all that makes me quite excited to hear that, you know, such a great energy for development, such a great energy for coaching and improvement and really giving back to people. And obviously you have that kind of caring side of your personality, which really shines through. So it's really good that you have all these plans and you're really giving back now in the coming years, and that feels great. I mean, really cool to hear about that.
Yeah, and I would. My ultimate dream is to once again work with elite athletes. But I've known that I don't take that role lightly, because I know how precious my dreams were, and you want to make sure that when you enter that space, you're able to hold a safe space for those athletes to explore their potential, and so you have to be so present. And I haven't really felt like I've got to that point yet. So the last 18 months I've been upskilling my coaching. I've been studying again, doing a high-level master's in areas of like neuro-linguistic programming, life coaching, hypnosis, just bringing all these other tools, because like you said, the mind is the absolute greatest single asset for any athlete. In orienteering, especially when you're trying to block out so many distractions and concentrate at such a high speed. So yeah, that I would love to return to elite level coaching, but I'm biding my time.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of years left still to be doing many different things. So, Hanny, thank you for all of this. Just before we leave you, we're going to have a little quiz, and just before that, I want you to just sum up in one word what orienteering has given to you.
Wildness.
Wildness. Thank you very much. All right, let's move on to the quiz that I've got for you. Right. Okay, the quiz is going to be, I'm going to share my screen. Here we are.
Fail hopelessly at this, but anyway, here we go.
Oh, right. We've got it here. Right. This is the first one. So the year and the place for 1 point each. We've got 5 of these photos, of course, and you'll get a score out of 10 at the end. Hopefully you can do very well. We're going to start difficult though on this one, I think.
No, this was definitely Venice.
Okay.
And the year was 2013.
Ooh, 2014, 1 year out, but well done. It was indeed, the Sprint World Championships in Italy. Yeah. Very well done. Okay, next one. Golden oldie, this one, I think.
I can't see this one.
Can you not?
No. Oh, now I can. Yes, this was definitely Lithuania when I won my gold medal, and the year was 2006. I'm not. Yes.
Yeah. 2006 Junior World Championships in that gold medal. And this one. Can you see this one now?
Yes, I can. Easy. 2006.
2006 again.
When I won the world title in the sprint distance in Aarhus, Denmark.
Yeah, incredible. Just been told that you'd won the gold medal. Just when you, at that point, or this point, do you remember what you were thinking? You know, it's always an incredible insight to like understand, like, okay, what goes through your head when something like this, an achievement like this is just kind of taking hold of
what was I thinking?
Or what were you feeling? What were you feeling of this?
It really was shock, this one, because the Lithuanian one, it sounds very egotistical, but I just knew in my gut I was going to win.
Yeah.
There was no other outcome in that race. And it still was one of the best ever runs I've ever had. This one was kind of like a comedy act, because for the week leading up to this, every single day I called back to Australia to the national selectors and said, you have to take me out of the sprint. On the wall. And they luckily didn't let me. And so this one I think really was shock, because I ran this one for my father, who was back in Australia very unwell. And so I ran with a lot of love, but then in this one, and it was kind of just like, what the hell happened?
Incredible. Well, Wow, yeah, thanks for that. I mean, what an incredible sporting moment that was, for sure. Let's move on. This one, do you remember?
Yeah, this was Scotland's back again randomly in the sprint distance, where I got 5th in the sprint final.
Indeed. Which year do you remember?
2015.
That's correct. 2015, yeah, sandwiched there between Sarah Lucia and Mina Kalpi, of course. Distance. All right, final one.
Summit of Cradle Mountain in Tasmania.
Nice.
Yeah, look, I have no idea. There's quite a few series, but yeah, one of my heartthrob landscapes. It's just extraordinary.
Yeah, it looks incredible there, no doubt. This was actually 2016, I believe, so yeah.
Yeah.
But
and
I'm sure you've been there many times.
Yeah, like I have, but you can always go back. And for those people who've never been to Tasmania, add it to your bucket list, and I'd happily do rounds. It's extraordinary.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well done. Yeah, I'm going to give you 9 out of 10 for that. 90%. Well done. Perfect.
Thanks.
Well, let's stop sharing now. Well, Hanny, thank you very much for joining us today, and it's been a pleasure, as always, to talk to you, catch up.
Thanks.
Thanks to everyone else for watching this broadcast, and I hope everyone else is enjoying World Orienteering Day. Yeah, we're hoping everything gets back to normal. Hanny, all the best for the future. Thanks again for joining us. From me, Hector Haynes, goodbye, and from Hanny, thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, bye.